Hello everyone, how's it going? So today, we are here to take a look at a new topic, and the topic is entitled Connectives or Conjunctions. It's a Nepali term being Samyojak. Alright, so Nepali like Samyojak bhanne गरिन्छ. So, we won't be taking a look at all the connectives or conjunctions. Today we'll just do these 5 connectives, which are most confused terms and जसको प्रयोग पनि अलिकति स्टुडेन्ट्सहरुलाई गाह्रो लाग्छ. Alright, so they are, as you see here, although, in spite of, despite. Alright, so despite need not or should not be used with of, it's just despite. And the word of should be followed by the term in spite. And whenever you write it down, either on the computer or in your paper, there should be a space after in and show should be after spite. Alright, and the next term is because, and its pronunciation is not because. Please remember that. So, we pronounce it wrong. So, its pronunciation is because. Cause भन्ने उच्चारण गर्नु होला. The cows भन्ने उच्चारण नगर्नु होला. Alright? Likewise, we have because of, and lastly, however, nevertheless. So, okay, so I have presented a small definition for you in case you needed this about connectives. Yes, and about the definition, like its name suggests, connectives. Okay, connect the main word, root word, and followed by or connected by IVES. Yes, and the term or suffix connect root word plus suffix IBES. Okay, so I want to stress on this first word that you see here, the root word connect. And this is the work of connectives. Yes, it connects or links the words, phrases, clauses, and sentences. Alright? In this lesson, to understand the use of the conjunction that we discussed earlier, you have to understand first what reasoning sentence is and what conflicting sentence is. So, तपाईले reasoning sentence भनेको के हो र conflicting sentence भनेको के हो तपाईलाई बुझ्नु जरुरी छ in order to answer them correctly. Alright? So, reasoning sentence is the खालको sentence हो, is that sort of sentence which has justifiable logic, right? So, त्यसलाई नेपालीबाट भन्नु पर्दाखेरि जायजपूर्ण वा स्वाभाविक भन्न सक्छौ. Alright? So, for this you have to understand the cases given first. So, in 1, it says that John was terribly ill. John was terribly ill. He went to hospital. Now, see here. So, illness. John, who was terribly ill, he went to hospital. And illness and hospital are reasoning, right? Because hospital is, what is hospital meant for? It is meant for whenever you are ill, right? So you go to hospital whenever you are ill, so whatever he did is justifiable. So this is a reasoning sentence. And another, he is poor. Okay? He is poor, he is greedy. Now take a look. Being poor, poverty and greediness. Because whenever you are poor, you're likely to be greedy, yes? And it's justifiable to be greedy. Because being poor means you already have limited resources. And so if you go on to like, be generous, you'll even lose that. So yes, it is righteous, it is justifiable for a poor to be greedy. So this is a reasoning sentence. Whereas, in the conflicting sentence, there are conflicting ideas, there is a contrast. Alright? So, take a look. In example 1, John was terribly ill. Okay, so illness is here. He was terribly ill. He did not go to hospital. So, बिरामी भएर पनि hospital नजानु भनेको कस्तो खालको प्रसंग छ यहाँनिर? There are two differing ideas presented here. Yes, because whenever you are terribly ill, you're meant to go to hospital. But in this case, John did not. So, it presents conflict. So, this is a conflicting sentence. Likewise, he is rich. He is rich. He is greedy. So, being rich means you have lots of resources. Yes. And being rich, you are greedy means there are two opposite terms, you know, because greediness and being rich do not go together. Yes. धनी भएर पनि लोभ गर्नु भनेको के हो त? द्वन्द्व छ नि त्यहाँ भित्र हैन? यसो विचार गर्नुस् त. Bhanda lob bhane yo यसलाई नमिल्नु पर्ने टर्म हो नि त, right? So गरिबी र लोभ ठिक छ बरु. It is righteous for poor to be greedy, but then it is not righteous. It is not justifiable for rich to be greedy. So which is why two differing ideas are presented here, and such types of sentences are known as conflicting sentences. It's really simple, isn't it? Up here is the formula that I've written for you. So after understanding what conflicting sentence and reasoning sentence meant, now we have arrived to this section, and the first connective that we study here is although, and secondly we'll do because. So although, remember, although is always used in conflicting sentence, whereas because is used in reasoning sentence. But then, excuse me, so there is something in common between these, and that thing is both of them, although and because, they are both used before a sentence. By a sentence we mean subject plus verb plus object pattern. So always remember, if you see such kind of pattern in a sentence, and if that sentence is conflicting, you will choose although. And with this sort of pattern, if your sentence has reasoning theme, you go for because. Just example, Mehru. The example A says that Shruti did not go to a hospital. You have to be really careful, okay? Because the first step is to find out whether the given sentence is reasoning or conflicting. Alright, so example A says Shruti did not go to hospital. She was terribly ill. So terrible illness is one thing, and here not going to hospital. Oh my god. So she was terribly ill. She did not choose to go to hospital. Means this is conflicting, because illness and not going to hospital, they're opposite. So this brings conflict in a sentence. अस्वाभाविक कुरा हो नि त हैन, किनकि बिरामीबाट हस्पिटलमा जान त स्वाभाविक होइन त्यो, अस्वाभाविक हो. So this is a conflicting sentence. So conflicting sentence, man, there's although and later on we'll also have to use in spite of despite, okay? So for now, in conflicting sentence we use although, but before that you have to see the sentence, okay? You खाली ठाउँ पछाडी see what is after this blank space. So it is it in accordance with this pattern? Just check out. See, is the subject, so here is the verb was, and here is object. So the sentence has this sort of pattern, and this is conflicting, which is why your answer is Shruti did not go to hospital although she was terribly ill. अब तपाईहरु इंग्लिशमा चाहिँ हामी के गर्ने बानी छ भने त्यो अलि साउन्ड चेक गर्ने, कुन राम्रो सुनिन्छ त्यो युज गर्ने चलन छ हैन प्रायको, because that is what we've been doing. So त्यो हिसाबले हो भने तपाईले यसलाई चाहिँ यसरी रिजनिङ कन्फ्लिक्ट नबनिकन लेख्ने हो भने Shruti did not go to hospital because she was terribly ill भन्दा पनि त्यस्तो नराम्रो चाहिँ सुने जस्तो लाग्दैन मलाई. So that is why many students they commit mistake, because they first go with the sound, and because is also compatible, you know, because also it brings melody to this. So त्यसरी गर्नु भएन है. Alright, so another example B says Amit and Prajul were expelled. Amit and Prajul were expelled. They cheated in the exam. Oh my god. So there is cheating in the exam, and there is being expelled, right? So when you cheat, you will be expelled, and after cheating, being expelled is justifiable. Because एकदम स्वाभाविक हो नि हैन, तपाईं cheat चोर्नुहुन्छ भने त तपाईलाई निकाल्दिन्छ. यो त रिजनिङ भयो. यदि cheat चोरेर उनलाई expel गरिदिएको थिएन भने that would be conflicting, right? So until now it is reasoning. So reasoning हो भने तपाईले एकैचोटि because लाई हाल्नु होइन, because keep also space for because of, which will come later. So reasoning sentence ho bhane after that you khali thau pachadi, okay? See the sentence that is after this blank space. So does it have this pattern, subject plus be plus object? So yes, it does. So if it is so, then subject plus verb plus object pattern with a reasoning in a reasoning sentence means it calls for the use of because. So our answer is because. So Amit and Prajul were expelled because they cheated in the exam. This is the correct answer. And now with that being said, I want to give a number C for you. So take your time and try to solve it, alright? But this is what you will do on your own. So the question is, Okay, it's not coming to my mind. Hold on. Sharad wasn't given any award. Sharad wasn't given any award. Dash. He had stood first in the match. Okay, this is for you. So, first of all, read the question carefully. Sharad wasn't given any award. He had stood first in the match. Now, what a contrast this is. It's so obvious. Just as you read, you'll figure it out that this is a conflicting sentence. But still then, let's take a look. Sharadलाई कुनै पनि award दिएन, right? He wasn't given any award. तर Sharad के आथ्यो? He stood first in the game. If second or third, that could be acceptable, but then first बाट पनि prize नपाउनु भनेको त सिधै अस्वाभाविक कुरा भइहाल्यो हैन? त्यो सिधै contrasting, conflicting कुरा भइहाल्यो. So this is a conflicting sentence. So if it is conflicting, now you have to see whether or not your sentence has this pattern. So see it after, always after the space, blank space. So here is subject, he. Here is a verb that you see, and object. So this is a sentence used before a sentence, and it is an independent sentence. So for independent sentence with a conflicting theme, what do you use? You use although. So its answer is although. So let's read it once again. Sharad wasn't given any award, although he had stood first in the match. So that's it. So after although and because, now we need to discuss, or we have to discuss, in spite of, despite, and because of. So they aren't difficult either. So in spite of or despite, like I already discussed at the beginning. So despite should not have of after it. It's just despite the word, and the word in spite should always be followed by the word of or the preposition of, right? So it is in spite of and despite. So in spite of, despite are for a conflicting sentence. Yes, just like although, in spite of, despite are also for a conflicting sentence. But then the difference is, in spite of, despite should be used in the sentence which is in other than subject plus verb plus object pattern. I repeat, which is in other than subject plus verb plus object pattern. So, by other than subject plus verb plus object we mean, you will find here anything but not the sentence, okay? So here could be possessive pronoun plus noun. So possessive pronoun examples, my, his, our, your, yes, something like that. And they can only be noun sometimes, being, having, before, or the fact that. You'll find here anything except subject plus verb plus object, okay? And in this sort of pattern, for reasoning sentence we use because of, for conflicting sentence we have in spite of, despite. So let us go to the example now. So example A reads, Shruti did not go to hospital, and it says illness. So you'll always find, or you always have to see this pattern after the blank space. After the blank space. Getting me? Okay. So Shruti did not go to hospital, illness. So illness and not going to hospital, what is it? Is it originating or conflicting? Yes. So illness and not going to hospital is conflicting sentence. So earlier in conflicting sentence we also had used although, right? So you have to choose between although and in spite of, despite, and for that you have to see the pattern after the blank space. So what is here after the blank space? Illness. So illness is not a sentence. It doesn't have subject verb object pattern, right? So if it does not have subject plus verb plus object pattern, it is noun in this case. Or you don't even have to look at it. You simply find out whether or not the given sentence is subject plus verb plus subject or not, okay? So we found out that this is not a sentence. This is a noun. So in other than sentence, subject plus verb plus object pattern, for conflicting we use in spite of or despite. So our answer is Shruti did not go to hospital in spite of illness or Shruti did not go to hospital despite illness. Right? Okay, so for the next, John was expelled from college. John was expelled from college. He has frequent misconduct. So, the guy named John got expelled from college. And he has frequent misconduct. Means misconduct, frequent misconduct, and getting expelled is reasoning. Right? So, yes, you get expelled if you do your frequent misconduct, yes? And if he had done frequent misconduct but he was not expelled from the college, then that would have been conflicting. But now, this is 100% reasoning. So for reasoning sentence, we have because or because of. Now, you have to choose between because and because of. And for that, you have to see what's there after the blank space. So here's frequent misconduct. Is it a sentence? Does it have subject, verb, object? No, it doesn't have subject, verb, object. So it falls under this category, which is other than subject plus verb subject. So here is possessive pronoun followed by a noun phrase, frequent misconduct. So in this sort of pattern with reasoning sentence, our answer is none other than because of. So read out. John was expelled from college because of his frequent misconduct. And that is how you do it. Alright, then I leave one for you. And please write down. Geeta wasn't allowed to enter the school dash being on time. Okay, so the sentence reads, Geeta wasn't allowed to enter the school being on time. So the girl named Geeta wasn't allowed to enter the school had reached the school on time. So if you had not reached on time, and if you weren't allowed in that case, that would be reasoning. But here, she has reached the school on time, but then still she wasn't allowed. So this is a conflicting sentence. अस्वाभाविक छ नि त टाइममा पुगेर पनि छिर्न नदिँदा अस्वाभाविक भइहाल्यो नि ढिलो पुगेको थिइन् र छिर्नु नदिएको थियो भने त्यो स्वाभाविक हुन्थ्यो तर समयमा पुगेर पनि छिर्न नदिँदा त्यो स्वत नै अस्वाभाविक छ so that is a conflicting sentence. So in conflicting sentence we had although and in spite of despite, so you have to choose between them, and for that you have to see what's there after the blank space. So being on time, is it a sentence? Is it a sentence? No, it doesn't have subject verb object. That is not a sentence, so it is other than pattern. So for other than, we use in spite of despite for conflicting. So our answer is in spite of or despite. You may choose any of it, okay? It's your wish how you use it. So Geeta wasn't allowed into the school in spite of being on time, or Geeta wasn't allowed into the school despite being on time. That's your answer. Easy, right? Okay, so the next topic is going to be the use of although and however, nevertheless. So although is that connective which we have already discussed at the beginning, but still then its rule somewhat coincides with that of however, nevertheless. So we'll make a comparative study of these two. Alright, so although is used before first action, whereas however, nevertheless is used before second action. Alright? But there is one thing in common between them, and the thing that is common between them is they are both used in conflicting sentence with subject plus verb or sentence pattern. हामीले सुरुमा although use गर्दा पनि भनेको थियौं हैन, although conflicting sentence मा use हुने हो र त्यसमा subject plus verb plus object pattern हुन्छ. So however मा पनि त्यही pattern use हुन्छ. तर the only difference is that although should be used before first action and however, nevertheless should be used before second action. So let's go to the example, because if I already discussed the formula, you want to get it. Okay, so let's go to the example. Shruti had stood first in the Shruti had stood first in the game. She wasn't given any award. Okay, read the sentence first. Try to find out whether the sentence is conflicting or reasoning. Okay, so standing first in the game and not getting any award. That is conflicting, isn't that? Because first, right, award अस्वाभाविक कुरा, right? That has contrast inside. So this is a conflicting sentence. So until now, हामीले के पढेको छौं भने conflicting sentence में के लाग्न सक्छ त? One, in spite of, despite, although, or now, however, nevertheless. So for that, you have to see what's after the blank space. And here you see subject plus verb plus object pattern. So that is why you don't have to bother about in spite of or despite. Because to use in spite of, despite, there should have been what? Other than subject plus verb plus object pattern. So since here is this pattern, there is no use of in spite of, despite. So then we come to these two. You have to choose between these. So for that, tell me which action took place first. Okay, Shruti had stood first in the game. She wasn't given any award. Kun action पहिला बता त्यो भन्नुस् ल. पहिला उसले गेम जित्यो कि या गेम जित्दा जित्दा पनि उसले पुरस्कार पाएन. त्यो चाहिँ फर्स्ट एक्सन हो त कुन चाहिँ हो त? Okay, so पहिला गेम जित्यो. So this is the first action, and not getting award despite that is second action. Yes. So now you tell me which connective do you use before second action in this sort of pattern? Second action, before that you use however or nevertheless, and your answer is Shruti had stood first in the game. However, she wasn't given any award, or Shruti had stood first in the game. Nevertheless, she wasn't given any award. So this is your answer, right? And another, Roy attended the training. Roy attended the training. He was injured. So, injury and still attending the training. After he was injured, it would be righteous or it would be justifiable if he had taken leave from the training. But it seems like he did not. He continued to do that, right? Which is conflicting. चोट लागेर पनि ट्रेनिङमा उपस्थित हुनु त अस्वाभाविक कुरा हुने हैन र? So this is conflicting, and you have to see what's after the blank space, and this is he was injured. Subject, verb, object is here. So it goes with this pattern. So in conflicting, there are two to choose from. So which one to use? For that, you have to find which action took place first and which one's the second. So tell me, which action took place first here? He attended the training first, or he was injured in the first place? What is it? Yes. So he was injured is the first action. And attending the training despite injury is second action. So now you tell me, which one do you use before first action? So before first action, you are going to use although. Alright, so Roy attended the training, although he was injured. Not Roy attended the training, however he was injured. That doesn't sound pleasant, does that? Okay, now that being said, I'd like to give you one question and you will solve it, okay? He said he will pay. He said he will pay dash. I don't think he will. So in the examination, you could be given options, or if it is Nepal Police, civil police, in the Lok Sewa, they do not even give you options, you know. But no worries. So you have to think first. So find out whether the sentence is reasoning or conflicting first. So you read it. He said he will pay. I don't think he will. So he says one thing. He said that he would pay, right? He would pay the bill. But then I don't think he will means there is some conflict between him and me, right? We're having different thoughts. So he thinks he would be paying, or he says that, but to me, it's like you won't. So that is a conflict between him and me. So this is a conflicting sentence. So until now, conflicting sentence में के लाग्छ भनेर पढेको छौं हामीले? One in spite of, despite, although or however. So there are three to choose from, right? So for that, you have to see what's after the blank space. And I don't think he will is subject plus verb plus object, which is why you don't have to bother with bother for in spite of, despite. That won't be used because that will not be used in this sort of pattern. So we're down to these two. So for this, for you to choose which one to use, you have to first find out which action took place first and which later. So which action took place first? उसले पहिला म तिर्छु भने कि उसले अनि मलाई चाहिँ उसले तिर्छु भन्दा भन्दै लाग्नु चाहिँ पहिलो काम हो त कुन काम पहिला भयो त? Okay, पहिला उसले तिर्छु भने, right? First he said he would, and मलाई नलाग्नु is the second action or is the result of that, and it came later. So first action, second action, and which one do you use before second action? It is none other than however or nevertheless. So he said he will pay, however I don't think he will, or he said he will pay, nevertheless I don't think he will is the correct answer. Alright, that's it. Okay, and now that being said, we come down to some questions which I have written down on the whiteboard for you. So let us solve these. So before you come to this, make sure that you revise the lesson once again. So, and upon studying those rules, you come to this, okay? Alright, so number 8. He became bored first. His parents did not look happy. So what was the first step? The first step was to find whether the sentence is reasoning or conflicting. So let's find that out. So he became bored first. His parents did not look very happy, right? So he became first, not just first, bored first. But his parents did not look happy, right? Right? This is not something normal. This is something contrasting, something conflicting, because being bored first, their parents should be very happy, but they weren't. So which is a conflict, so a conflicting sentence. And after conflicting sentence, you have to see what's after the blank space. So not here, what's after the blank space, all right? It's always, you have to see what's after the blank space. So he became bored first. So what is it? Is it subject verb object pattern, or is it other than a sentence? So he became bored first is a sentence because it has subject verb object, right? As it can also stand independently. So the answer is going to be what? So subject plus verb plus object. For conflicting, we have to although and however. So he became bored first. This is first action. So before first action, you use although. So our answer is although he became bored first, his parents did not look happy. Come to number B. She cheered. Her father brought her a new phone. So she became happy. She cheered. Her father brought her a new phone. So who would not be happy if father gives you a new phone, right? So this is reasoning sentence, and you have to see what's after the blank space. So her father brought her a new phone. This is subject, her father. There's verb, there's object. So this is a sentence. And for a sentence that is with subject plus verb plus object pattern, reasoning, all we have is because. So answer is she cheered because her father brought her a new phone. It's because, once again, not because, right? So she cheered because her father brought her a new phone. C. He dropped out of college, his poor economic condition. So he dropped out of college, his poor economic condition. So poor economic condition and dropping out, they go together, right? They get along. So this is reasoning. There's nothing conflicting. Ekdam swabhavik so yo. So you have to see what's after the blank space. His poor economic condition. Do you see subject, verb, object here? Do you see a sentence? His poor economic condition. No, it is not a sentence, because being a sentence, it needed at least subject and verb, which isn't here. So it is other than subject, verb, object pattern. And for other than subject, verb plus object pattern, reasoning, we only have because of. He dropped out of college because of his poor economic condition. That's your answer. So D. So he is strong, the fact that he's too old. So strong and old. So strong and old, that's conflicting. Because when you get old, you lose your strength, you become weak, something like that. Yes? So strong and old, they're conflicting. So this is a conflicting sentence, and you have to see what's after the blank space. Do you see subject verb here? Because you have to see immediately after it, okay? Like we have subject here. Yes, immediately after, not here, sorry. Yes, here. Her father. We have subject immediately after the blank space, but here, the fact that. So you are not going to say this, because if you say this, you'll be misled. You'll be incorrect. So you have to see immediately after the blank space, and there is no subject verb object. There is not a sentence. Rather, there is something other than a sentence has the fact that, which is why this is other than sentence pattern. So for other than sentence pattern conflicting, all we have is what? We have despite or in spite of. So your answer is she is strong despite the fact or in spite of the fact that she is too old. And E. Sharath had good preparation. He failed miserably. Having good preparation but still failed the exam, it is a conflict, right? So after the blank space, we have a sentence, subject, verb, as you see, right? So now we're down to although and however. You have to choose between them. So you have to know which action took place first. So the first action is he had a good preparation. This is first action, and failing is second action. So before second action, you have however. So Sharath had a good preparation. However, he failed miserably. And finally, Sharath failed. He had good preparation. Conflicting sentence again. So first action was having good preparation, and failing despite it was second action. So what do you use before first action conflicting? With subject, verb, object pattern, you have although. So Sharath failed although he had good preparation. And yes, this is what we cover in this lesson. And like an old saying goes, practice makes man perfect. You have to do lots of practice. And for practicing, I have some arrangements for you. For that, you have to go to the link that I have given in the description below. You go there, you will get lots of practice questions on it, as well as some mock test. So go for that. So as for the lesson, this must be today. See you next time in the new lesson. Until then, stay safe and namaste.